Hey Daniela, how you doing?
Hey, happy.
We're doing good. Okay, you can't see us though, can you? Oh, there we go. Can you see? Oh, what is that? Here.
Okay, so right here, you can turn the volume up on this.
I, but I see you all. I see the screen.
Okay. Do you see the board?
Right now, she should see that slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why does it look like that though?
I don't know.
See the
Oh,
board.
because this is a computer that's joined.
Okay, but you can see the board though, right?
No, I cannot. I only see the Zoom screen.
Do you see where it says school board meeting? I don't know what she sees. Is this supposed to be a different view?
Well, no, it's supposed to be the program. What we send out, that right now is what she should be seeing.
I don't want to share nothing.
I only see Kimberly Green.
Do we?
I see your screen, Kimberly.
Okay, so she only sees this then.
Okay.
So is there a video we need to change to?
No, because if we change it from that, we'll lose the whole thing. Tell you what, if you want, I can switch it to the podium to there.
Okay.
And see if we.
Because I thought normally they saw the board.
So, well, they don't see the.
But
They see the program. Whatever.
do you see the screen now?
Kimberly, no, I only see myself a bunch of times.
So yes.
It's your desktop.
Yes, that's still our desktop.
Yes. Yeah, it's on the desktop.
Because she should be. So we should be good then now, because she
I think
sees what
so.
we see.
Yeah, and as long as she can hear us and everything.
Okay. But when we do the PowerPoint and all that,
I see the PowerPoint, but I can't see the board.
Miss Emo, if you have an issue, just text me.
Kimberly, you send me your number?
Oh, I'll text it to you right now. I have yours.
Okay, great.
My apologies. Booth's good? Are we good in the booth?
I cannot hear. I can't see the school board. I only see your screen.
I don't want to call the meeting to order until we're set up.
I cannot hear. I can't see the school board. I only see your screen.
I had some cookie dough in the freezers, and I had three balls, right? And I said, oh, I said, that's such a sweet tooth. I said, Lawrence, I said, do you want anything rice? He said, well, not really. I said, well, I only have 3 cookies, and so when I bake them, there's not enough for there's only 3.
And Ms. Green, when she's not speaking, she'll probably need to mute her microphone so we don't get an echo. Okay.
Did you hear Dr. Rockwell, Ms. Simo? Okay, thank you.
All right. I think we're all set, everyone? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the School Board of Alachua County. This is our first meeting of the new year, so to those of you we haven't seen until now, Happy New Year. We hope you had a great break. Now, would you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I would like to recognize Carmen Ward, our union president, with an update from the ACEA.
So sorry. I'll start again. Good evening, Board Chair Rockwell, board members, staff. I am Carmen Ward. I'm the Alachua County Education Association president. The biggest news from the union is tomorrow we will have a district-wide ratification vote on our tentative agreement with the district. So every school is holding a voting site. We are having it here at the district office from 10 to 1, at Fernside from 10 to 1, and at Civia from 6:45 in the morning until 9:30. So we are having that district-wide, and it is an amazing team effort from an awesome union. So we have representation at every site that will be making this happen for 3,300 employees in our district. And so I am excited to see what happens tomorrow and to see the results, and I will be reporting those results as they come into me. They're all due into the union by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll be knowing really soon if we have that raise coming our way. And so that is, that's the big news from the union. We also are very excited about the Teacher of the Year event that is happening January 23rd. And we thank all the board members for your contributions to that event. The ACA has been involved in the Teacher of the Year event since the very beginning. And so I will be happy to be there and see all of the recipients. And that is all I have for tonight. Dr. Tessman, unfortunately, is under the weather. So I hope everyone gets out and votes tomorrow. So use your voice and vote. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ward. Now, on to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, we pulled the consent agenda number 5, and also the administrative appointments is subsumed within the personnel listing now.
Thank you, Dr. Patton. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Dr. McNeely, seconded by Ms. Surden. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, moving on. Approval of the regular school board minutes for December 2nd, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Surden. seconded by Dr. McNeely. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the regular school board meeting minutes for December 10th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So
Moved by Mr. Vu. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. McNeely. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the special school board meeting minutes for December 18th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Ms. Surden. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Vu. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to board member and superintendent announcements. Ms. Surden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to reiterate what you said. A Happy New Year to all of our staff and our families in Alachua County Public Schools. Want to just remind our families that the magnet application is now open. You can apply online. And I'd like to encourage everyone to take the time out to evaluate the programs. If you haven't, if you didn't visit the open houses that were held, to go online to the website and review the various programs that are available at every grade level, elementary, middle, and high, and that you all would consider applying to a program that you think would be a good fit, that are of interest to your student. There's a lot that's offered in the district. And I do just want to take the time to make mention all of our district programs. We have some very high quality programs that are offered, but the programs that are at Lofton seem to sometimes they feel like they get kind of lost in the shuffle because they're so far out, right? And Lofton is there, but the professional academies magnet that are located at Lofton has some excellent programs that will prepare your students for post-secondary opportunities, or if they would prefer to enter into a career after high school. And some of the programs that they have there are automotive technology, fire and EMS, gaming, and mobile apps, graphic arts and design, and production, and robotics and engineering. And that's not just to say that that's the only one. I mean, but that is one. Lofton is a school that has a lot of capacity, can handle some more capacity in their programs that they have there. And so I don't want anyone to forget to go by the website and peruse the offerings that they have there. And perhaps the shadowing days I know are going on now. Have your student go by and evaluate a program. So that's all that I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Surden. Dr. McNeely?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to congratulate Kaden Parker. We all attended the MLK Gala on Saturday evening. I had to think because we've had so many other opportunities, but he was exceptional. He's a student from Santa Fe High School, and I was just amazed. I had heard him before, but this was just outstanding. And congratulations to him. I think I heard that he has been accepted to Morehouse in Atlanta. And they should be so pleased that he has accepted that invitation to attend that college in Atlanta. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. McNeely. Mr. Vu?
Yeah, I think Dr. McNeely speaks for all of us. I'm such an impressive young man and a much better public speaker than I am. So I'm totally someone who could give me some lessons. I was so thoroughly impressed. Just also to echo what Member Certain said about magnet applications, those applications are due February 11th. And I just do want to just say, I know I am. I know a lot of us on the board, and I know Dr. Patton, a huge supporter of our magnet programs, and we totally believe in them, and that we're going to do our best, do what we can to work with each program to make sure that spots are filled, especially if we know we have students who want to go and programs that would like students to, attend their program, that we're going to make sure that process is easier this year. So just thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Vu. To echo what Dr. McNeely said, Caden Parker, congratulations to you and to your family. And that was one of the best public speeches I have had the privilege of hearing. To echo what Ms. Surden and Mr. Vu said, magnet application window is open. It is open until February 11th. Please peruse all of the offerings that are available and make sure that you apply to the programs your student is interested in. As board chair, I had the opportunity to meet with our Education Foundation president, Tia Brock-Powell, and we had a wonderful discussion. And our district appreciates our Education Foundation so much and looks forward to continuing to work with them. Do you have any announcements, Dr. Patton?
Yes, thank you. So I'd like to start by having Ms. Johnson just give us a little video highlight, and as she's teeing that up, just to say, like everyone else has said, Happy New Year to everyone. Glad that everybody had, at least from the school system's point of view, 2 weeks to spend time with family and friends. So with that, thank you, Mrs. Johnson. So thank you, and I too, like each of the board members have talked about, just wanted to say it's such an important and exciting time when our magnet window is open. Magnets really allow our kids from pre-K to grade 12. So don't think, oh, it's only for high school. It's elementary, it's middle, it's high school. Take advantage of the innovation that happens at our magnets. They're very, very successful, and again, all levels offer them. So Alachua families, reach out, go make sure you see what's happening, prepare your kids for success all the way through graduation and a variety of things. Let them try things that they may want. Sometimes they discover what they may want or what they may not want, but that saves you a college bill if they know what they don't want. But go reach out, make sure you saw again, like everyone has said, it's up February 11th. And we want to be sure that you have until then to apply, and then also for the parents that do apply, March 25th, so you know when to be looking for that yes of a communication. Just a couple other quick ones. All of us are looking forward to what's coming up, the Teacher of the Year event. That's just always a highlight. Absolutely. I want to really thank these incredible 4 board members. They have shown up at all these great events as a whole group, and then I get the opportunity to join them. So have had a great time, not only at our legislative delegation you saw, where all 4 were there with us. We all had the opportunity, as been mentioned, at the Martin Luther King Gala. And just saying it again, it's been wonderful to get to meet so many of our community member and staff people. So thanks. It's a little bit long, but there's been a lot that happened, and we've only been back for 2 weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Patton, for that update. It's always great to see all of the things going on in our district. Before we move into citizen input, I want to make an announcement that this is the last board meeting that I will be managing citizen input forms. In future board meetings, Ms. Jackie Johnson will be managing the citizen input forms, so that's just a slight change to our input process so that Ms. Johnson doesn't have to walk back and forth delivering forms. At this time, I don't have any forms, but is there anyone in the audience who would like to provide input? Is there anyone on the phone, Mr. Foote? All right, then moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have Dr. Patton, the consent agenda?
Thank you. Oops, sorry. So we have our items all set for the consent. We moved the one that we had mentioned, so we'll turn it back to you all.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Move with staff recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented, excluding item number 5.
Motion from Ms. Surden. Do I have a second? Second by Dr. McNeely. Is there any discussion of the consent agenda? Is there any community input for the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved unanimously. So now we are moving on to our action items. The first is board committee assignments. Dr. Patton.
Thank you. So we certainly, again, appreciated all the time that Kay Abbott has served as a board member prior to right to the close of 2024. So with her absentee time now in the seat until it is filled, we do have 3 different assignments that we're looking for to see if another board member would consider filling in on a temporary basis until we get that board member. And then board members, I think too, whenever we do get the next board member, we could go back and look at the committee assignments, give you a chart of what each committee actually does, how often they meet. And I know that we've historically just filled in, the next person takes the other one, but then we might be able to, when we get the next person, just have you all decide what by choice you might want to be on, or you could keep the same committees, but we'll bring you a chart so that you know what all and roughly how often they meet, and when we have the new board member, and also balance them, because they're a little bit, some have a little bit less, so it could kind of help balance. But that's then, this is now, so we're looking for 3 people to potentially take an extra committee. One would be the bid protest hearings.
I'll take that one.
Thank you, Mrs. Surton. The Education Foundation of Alachua County Board.
I did want to mention that Ms. Brock Powell said that their first meeting, if the person can attend, is actually tomorrow. And I told her even if whoever took it couldn't attend, I could attend that meeting, but it's tomorrow at noon at the Community Foundation Building, which is on Newberry Road near Life South. I'm willing to take that committee, but at the very least, I'm willing to definitely take tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, and I also wanted to suggest, and the board can certainly decide to do it or not. So the Education Foundation is a very extensive committee. It's not just the board. You would definitely try and be at every one of the events, although the board is invited to many. But I noticed that sometimes you guys have alternates, so that might be a good one to have an alternate since they have more meetings. Are you guys open to also have an alternate for that committee?
Yeah, I think that would probably make Ms. Green's life easier rather than trying to track
is
a
start
sub.
with that one if they can. So, okay, so how about we start, who would like to be the representative, and then ask who might be interested in being the alternate?
I mean, if you're willing to be the rep, I can be the alternate, or really, I'll defer to you and Dr. Rockwell. I can do either.
That works for me.
Is that good, Mrs. Certain and Mrs. Dr. McCarr? Is that good? Okay, so we'll have Mrs. Rockwell be the representative. Thank you, Mr. Vu, for being the alternate. And then the last is the alternate to the Legislative Committee Liaison. Don't everybody raise your hand at once.
I can't do that one. I'm already the legislative committee
Oh,
liaison.
so you would if you could, is what I hear you saying.
And I unfortunately can't. I actually gave up that committee because I have a standing appointment at the time that they meet.
So,
That's you, Mrs. Certain? We already said you said something?
well,
That's like
yeah.
raising your hand?
So as past president, I'm at all the meetings anyway, the majority of them, so I can
The
can
alternate?
take that as the alternate, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Certain.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
And the turnaround schools,
Oh, yes,
Metcalf
I'm
and
sorry.
Rollins, I'll just take those.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So that's Rollins Elementary.
Yeah. and
Thank you.
Metcalf as well.
And there are two of them, right.
Metcalf.
Thank you. All right, so I think we're good with all of these. Any others? Okay, thank you.
All right. So moving on to the superintendent search, Dr. Patton.
Thank you. So, as we had planned for this first meeting in January, staff has put together a presentation for you for the superintendent search processes. So we've done extensive work so that you have an idea of the 3 different options as you decide to be, as you're moving forward, the 3 different processes that you could be thinking through of what you would like to do. So as this pulls up, I just would like to take 1 minute and introduce our new assistant superintendent, Mrs. Deborah Terry. So she started on Monday, so we thought, last Monday, why not have her just jump right into a presentation? Because eventually, as we go through this, it'll be Mrs. Terry, who heads HR, that'll be doing the presentation. So we thought, let's toss her right out. So with that, Mrs. Terry.
Thank you. All right, good evening. Tonight I will be just briefly going through with you the steps for the options for a superintendent search. And we actually have 3, and one of them is a direct contract, the other is a request for information, and the other would be requests for proposals. And so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on each one of those, and then at the end of the presentation, do a comparison of them, okay? So the first one is the direct contract option. And the very first thing here is that we will identify one search firm with a record of success for the given scope of work.
It's the wrong PowerPoint I pulled up for you. I apologize. I pulled up the wrong PowerPoint for her, so I'm gonna need to.
So they'll get the right PowerPoint pulled up, the revised one. And as we're pulling that, just wanted to mention, as Mrs. Terry, she's actually rejoining us. Her second assignment that she chose when she was starting her career was right here. Mrs. Terry, what school did you tell us used to?
Williams Elementary.
Right, at Williams Elementary. So for her, it's actually coming back home at the end of a career. So kind of neat.
There we go. This was the one I pulled up. This is the one. This is the one I pulled up. I can't see that thing up there in the corner.
I would sing, but it would clear the room, so.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, there you go.
Thank you. So this slide is pretty much the same. So we do have 3 options, and I'm going to go into detail, a little bit of detail on each of the processes. So the first one would be the direct contract option, and with this, we would identify one search firm with a record of success with the given scope of work. And then that commencement of work is really going to be dependent on the firm's availability. And we have to remember that right now, we are at the height of the search season, if you will. So most firms have multiple searches actively going on right now. So we just want to keep that in mind across the board. So this firm would be contracted as a professional services provider, and they are exempt from the competition under state board rules. So between March and June of 2025 would be that superintendent search and the selection process, and then that cost, and hopefully then coming to board with a decision in June. And then that cost would be approximately $48,000 to $52,000 for this option. The next option would be the request for information option. And this is pretty much like the first option, except that this one we identify multiple search firms that have a record of success with this given scope of work. Once again, the commencement of the work is really going to depend on the firm's availability, being at that height of the season. So the firms will present directly to the board and at a board workshop or at a board meeting. And at the conclusion of those presentations, the board will have a discussion. And then if it's at a board workshop, then they would make their vote, you would make your vote at the next board meeting. If the presentations are done at a board meeting, then you would make your vote at the end of that board meeting after your discussion. Once again, it would be contracted through a professional services provider, which means they don't have to go through that competition. And once again, the March through the June would be the search, the actual search, and with the selection process. The estimated cost is about $48,000 to $52,000. The next process is a request for proposals. This is a more extensive process, if you will. So the estimated timeline here, first of all, we have to remember that the work is always going to depend on the firm's availability. So from January through February, that's when the RFP process is going to happen. The RFP will be opened, they'll get submissions for proposals. The proposals will then go to a committee, and the committee will review them individually. Then there will be a public meeting where the scores will be brought up at that point in time from each individual committee member, and there will be a recommended shortlist. The shortlist will then come to board and give presentations to the board. The board then will discuss and vote to determine which firm will be awarded, and then that organization will meet with the board to create a timeline for the rest of the process. So that process, once again, will happen between March and June. And the cost there is between $50,000 and $52,000. On all three of them, it could be an increase of it could increase depending on the level of services, the level of how many meetings. So all of that will be determined when the organization meets with you all to create a timeline. So other things to think about is that, once again, and I know I've said this all three times, but I just want to make sure we realize that the commencement of work is really dependent on the availability of the firm. So if they are in active searches right now, then they're going to have to try and work their schedule into your schedule. The cost of the travel and accommodations for the finalists are the responsibility of Alachua County Public Schools. So that's over and above the cost of the search firm. And then our goal is to have a mid-June decision so that there would be a July 1 start date. More than likely, the finalist interviews would be sometime in May. Any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Surden.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Terry, for compiling the info and bringing it forward in format so that everyone could follow easily. So my question, I think it's more of a question, a comment than a question, in each of the three options. You said the search period would be March to June, and
Yes.
it's kind of a fluid date, right? So I don't want anybody to think that's like set in stone. But on the request, the RFP, well, we've got January 25 to February. Can you tell we're thinking, is this a 6 to 8 week period to issue and score RFP for us to get there? Because we're mid-January is what I'm asking right now.
So in January, once you all decide, next month, the decision-making will be done, or at the next board meeting. I mean, well, really, it's next week, not next month. So then the RFP would go out at that point. And the RFP has to stay open for at least 11 days. And then during that 11 days, or when the search, or when the organizations then will put in their information. Then once that closes, that information then will be given to the review committee. And they will review it individually. Then once that happens, there will be a notified or a noticed meeting of the public. And at that noticed meeting of the public, they will come and each committee member will say, I gave this score, this score, this score, this score.
So I understand that. So are we thinking here that we would have respondents in 11 days? So we're only thinking this would be open in 11 days?
It can be open from, yeah, it would be 11 days, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess
You
for
can
me,
leave it open longer. We
I'm
were just trying to show you the fastest.
yeah, okay. Thank you. The
That's
fastest.
what you're asking.
So, yeah, like for me, I guess the concern that I have, and the reason I asked for this to be a discussion item tonight in the meeting today, was knowing that we're doing an unplanned search. This is unplanned, and as such, our runway is short, right? We were thinking we got a short runway with the June 30th date for on the end of our contract here. I'm talking with us here. And so it's more than just like to do this. This is like foundational, but I don't know if you guys, I emailed y'all this thing from FSBA about evaluating your district for a search and seeing if you're ready to do a search. I thought I sent that to everybody. I thought I shared it.
I did not either.
It's in your drafts.
It's in my draft. It probably is. It probably is. Well, we got this the last time that when we were planning to do a search back in 2022. And so really, like, for us, since we're in this unplanned state here of trying to, we got to figure out, we know we got to do a search, trying to figure out a path forward. Are we going to have a runway long enough to do that? And are we desirable to get a good person in here? Like, is our district in a place? Like, I'm telling you, we got some challenges that we got to do that every time I talk with Dr. Patton, I'm adding more things and saying, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? Have you looked at the other? So for me, I'm worried about runway of us having, we got to get out of the vortex of where we are. I'll say what I said back in October when the vote was made to terminate the last person. But going forward, we got to not just doing a search and putting somebody in there, because this isn't a spot where anybody can just do this job. It's a skilled position. It's working collaboratively with us, with the board, the elected board members, and the superintendent have to work collaboratively together. But the person that's in the suit spot has to operationalize what our vision and our goals and our mission are. If we are aligned as an elected body That person has to operationalize that. And it's a very consequential position. It has the impact, can pull you forward and have you in a good place as a district, operating positively, offering a lot of opportunities to your students, you know, being situated to compensate your employees and doing a lot of positive things. And if it is not a good person, we end up in kind of treading like a rudderless ship. And I think we have to get out of that rudderless ship spot. And in me reaching out, I think we have a leader in temporarily to get us there. But I want us to, as a body, I really want us to coalesce around doing a really good, attacking this methodically and deliberately, and making a really good decision, because we cannot have the viewpoint that anybody could do this job and it's somebody that we're familiar with and all of that stuff. That's not. We're hiring the chief executive officer for a $600 million organization. That's almost 4,000 employees, 38 to 40 schools and other sites, right? 28,000 students or so. And a lot of, they're not competing, some of them are competing responsibilities or competing demands, but there are a lot of responsibilities, business-wise, operational-wise, educational-wise. So we gotta get this right. This board has got to get this right. The ball has been fumbled, and so for me, I came to, you know, I didn't make any, it's no secret to me. I want to go with our state association, but that's my thing. Whatever we do, we would have to get in line because there are several searches, because there are several other districts who had planned to transition out their leaders. And it doesn't matter who we get. This is the time where people are districts are searching for school leaders, because nobody starts in the middle of the school year. And it's why I was to say we have to plan this, and we were really trying to do that before. But I'll stop and I'll listen to what you guys have to say, and then I can come. I got another body to help out.
Thank you, Ms. Certain. Mr. Vu.
I might disagree with everything Member Certain said. You know, my, I guess, summary of it is, yes, we need to make sure we bring order to the chaos first so we can attract the best possible candidate. And this is something I don't want to rush. This needs to be a diligent process, and just making sure we get the best possible person here to do the best possible job for our students, teachers, and the community. So you just 100% agree, except I'm more inclined for the RFI process, but again, you know, just one difference, but otherwise, yes.
So first I want to say that I have always from the beginning felt like we needed a very transparent search process that allowed ample opportunity for community input. And I think that should start with the choosing of the search firm. So I personally lean toward an RFP process. I'm not sure having it open for 11 days is going to get us the responses we're hoping for. Maybe it will. Initially, I was willing to compromise on an RFP process if we could move more quickly with FSBA, with our state organization, but as Ms. Certain mentioned, they have several searches underway already, and the timeline, March to June, would not change. You know, we wouldn't get a faster timeline by just choosing them without the community input. Then my other concern, you know, I agree with all the concerns that Ms. Certain brought forth, that we really need to be intentional in this search, because we need to bring someone on board who has the experience and skills to run a $600 million organization with almost 4,000 employees that is really serving the entire county. Our customers are the entire county, whether they have children in this district or not. And that's a huge job. But one of my biggest concerns that I didn't hear Ms. Certain bring up is that the timeline presented for really all three options would have us, if everything goes according to plan perfectly, doing interviews in May. Anyone who's had a student in public school or worked in a public school knows that May is a very hectic time. We have state testing, national testing for things like AP, IB, Cambridge, graduations, end of year performances, all of those things. And, you know, at the beginning of June, the superintendent and board go to the FSBA FADS conference. And so having that tight timeline concerns me tremendously. And I know we did not plan it this way. This is, as Ms. Surden mentioned, an unplanned search. I don't think I or anyone sitting up here would have planned it where we had such a tight timeline. But I think, you know, my biggest concern is what happens if we get to June 30th and because of all of the other obligations everyone has during May, because the firms had other searches going on, these ideal timelines can't be met. You know, what is our plan in that instance? That's my biggest concern. So I don't know.
I have something else, but I was looking at Dr. McNeely. I didn't want to speak first if she has something, because she hasn't had a chance to speak yet. But
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Surton. No, I can agree with many of the things that you have stated. I would rather, at this point, to hear from the superintendent, who we have at this point. Now that the three of you have spoken, I'd like to hear what she would like to add. One of the things that I can remember from all of the searches, and I've been through quite a few, we've always used the Florida School Board Association as the group or the organization that helps us with this process. I'm a little surprised, and maybe not surprised, that at the last time that we used them, the last time it was not at the 48 to 52,000. So I'm sure that everything else has increased. Why not that? But I would like to, if we are going to be considering an organization other than FSBA, I'd like to really have some time to look at those groups as well. And your time frame is very short. And I can see a problem, maybe, having a new person coming in by the date of July 1 and school starting the very next month. So it's many things that we need to consider. And certainly, we will come to a good conclusion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. McNeely. Ms. Surden.
I want just, felt like I was going on, and I did want to make two more points of that. And I think we're all in agreement on this but I do want to throw this out, is that the work that we have to get done, because there's a lot of unraveling. My colleague here said bringing some order out of the chaos, or something like that, you said. So one of the questions on this spreadsheet here, this file that I'm going to share with you guys, it says, are the conditions in the district strongly conducive to the success of a new superintendent? And I went down this and I answered the questions. And so from where I sit as a board member, I would have to say no. Like I actually, and just so like I cheated, because the day I watched the Flagler, the St. Johns County little session, so I know these questions will be asked. So I sat down and answered them right. But there are a lot of issues that could kind of be a little bit contentious and some hard. But what we have in the 6 months, Dr. Patton's been like a few weeks, right? Because of winter break and all that, and the unraveling that she's doing and getting to know everything and trying to sort things out. If there's no transition time, that's the other thing we have to plan. is her being able to work with somebody in a transition from her to them. And if we don't bring some chaos and straighten out some of the things and things that need to get fixed and resolved and addressed, the next person is going to have to take the time that she's taken now to get that done, right? And I have my little timesheet here that I did, you know, little planning thing about when we would get stuff done, right? And so it would punt on those things again that would board priorities. We have 5 board priorities that did not get addressed in the past 2 years. We have 5 priorities, and there are things that still need to get done. And so we kind of got to untangle some of this mess before we can go forward and make ourselves desirable to the next candidate so we can attract somebody good. Because I asked the question the other day, like, why they apply for a job, why they do this and why they do that. You know, when we go to jobs, people are asking those questions, like, why is the position vacant? Why the person leave before? And what are some challenges that I'm gonna have to deal with when I come in? And those are all questions that we're gonna have to answer to anybody else. So we got to consider that as well. And as Dr. McNeely just said, she saw the cost, the escalator on that for the different options. The searches aren't getting cheaper. And so that's another thing that we have to consider, and we bring someone in. We want to make sure we make a good hire, so this is not money that we have to spend again, or some board, you know, has to spend again in the near future. We want to get somebody that will be here for a long time. So thank you for.
Thank you, Ms. Certain. And that, I forgot to mention that another one of my concerns, in addition to having the interviews be the busiest month pretty much of our school year, would be making sure that we have time for a transition, and also reappointments of positions have to happen in June, by June 30th. So if we don't have a transition time that includes at least most part of June, a new superintendent would be coming into a team with no say in those appointments is another concern of mine. But Dr. Patton, do you have any comments?
Sure. So I actually would say I agree with you, because, you know, part of the reason I wanted to come was to really try and help stabilize things and dig at things and make sure that we actually, we collectively really attract a really great superintendent, you know, and hopefully one that has experience, and that we can give them a roadmap of where we've started, you know, and then continue on. So it's hard to think I've only actually been here for actually under 2 months, and I was counting back over last weekend. It's really 5.5 weeks, because like you mentioned, if you take out 2 for the winter holidays, 3 for Thanksgiving, 5.5 weeks isn't a long time, but I think we have, like, we're already on roadmaps, you know, and that really gives me hope for here and the things that we're doing, and it's exciting. I've really enjoyed working with the 4 of you. I know I asked for things when I came, and boy, you've fulfilled them and more. So I say, you know, thank you. Thank you for your time of meeting with me every week. Thank you for looking over all the board items, asking me questions, you know, making sure that you're ready for the board meetings, or we're ready for them too. So I see that. I see too that you have a great staff here. We have a great staff here. We have great community members. Again, you have a community that supports education off the chain here, like that. 2 taxes plus the Children's Trust, that's 3 ways that they tax themselves to help education. It's a district that's poised so well with here. So I look at those, but then like a couple of you mentioned, I worry that you've had these priorities, like that list, Mrs. Certain, you held up a second ago, that we haven't really gotten to tackle those, that rezoning issue, the idea of the strategic plan, the finances, and really seeing where we really are, not just kind of saying where we are, but, you know, where it is, and having to do some, you know, real hard looks and saying no to things, and where are the yeses, and the systems, most importantly, for those, not a one-time shot. What do we put in place for the long term? And then the other systems I talked about, I'm very excited about our data dialogues. It's very exciting, and to look at CEO briefings, that bring in community members. So when I look at all that, I just kind of think, I don't know how we get those things done in addition to hiring a soup between now and June of 2025. and not to the level like, you can't be a perfectionist, but I'm as close to a perfectionist as you can be in a public world. Is that a nice way to say that? So anyway, so what I'm saying is that I'd be happy to request a year extension to take it to June of 2026. And in so doing that, but would make this a very further clear that there would be no other extensions. It's June of 2026. That's a public pledge that I would also not be part of that next search. Happy to help set it up, happy to do all those things, but also know that really by June of 2026, I know we'll have done data dialogues 4 times. I know we'll have gone through 2 full rounds of finances, so we'll be set with those processes. So happy to do that and kind of think, when you hear what we did on the research is to really start the search in October next year, jump right on that. January, we're already with that job descriptions ready to go. March, your interviews, April, and then what 2 of you have mentioned, but I know all of us would agree, to actually provide a transition for that person to be here in person, watching through and seeing things. That would be really great, because then I know I can step out and say, I'm part of the team.
Thank you, Dr. Patton. And so what I'm hearing you say, and I'm kind of breathing a little sigh of relief, is you're willing to extend your existing contract for 1 year with a public promise not to apply as
Right, and keep
for
all
a
the
permanent
terms,
position.
all the conditions the same. We don't go back to, let's start a whole new contract, just roll all the terms and agreements the same, just changing that deadline to say that the extension would then be terminating the contract for June of 2026, June 30th.
Okay, and I guess my only remaining question is, depending on how long the search takes, would you definitely stay through June, or if somebody wanted to start earlier, would you be willing to do the transition earlier?
So I think we do the transition all the way through, because what you mentioned, so we can work all that out, so we'll make that happen either way.
Mr. Vu?
Just echoing the sigh of relief about that, just because I wanted a very diligent process to making sure we're doing the best we can for our community. And so I really appreciate your willingness to stay on another year. I know we are taking you away from your home, and I know that is a big sacrifice. And just me, somebody who truly values, my own place, home, my 4 walls, I understand that, and just thank you.
Ms. Surden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, hate to be Debbie Downer here. Thank you, Dr. Patton, for being open to extending your contract. But I think for us as a board, I think we just, so we don't end up in the vortex. I know you're not that type of person. I'm not saying you are. I'm not. So I think for y'all that know me know that I kind of I'm like the person that's like the, the disclosure on the investment things. They say past performance is not any indicator of future performance, right? Or past experience, past results are not. But all I have is the past to go on, right? So I think we, maybe we have a workshop or something. We sit down and we really map out what we'd like to see done in this extension. And we have some checkpoints and where we're going to be checking with success, where we can make sure we're all kind of on the same page and we're there. Because what I don't want to happen is for you to come back, Dr. Patton, because I'll probably melt down and say to us, if you start rezoning and tell us, don't adopt this or don't do that. I promise you, I cannot go through that again. I can't. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think I can as a board member, and I don't think it's fair to our community to go through something like that.
Can't keep talking about it.
Right? We got to do the work, got to do the darn thing, right? As they say, you're going to fish or cut bait. Right. So I think we really should sit down and we really map out some things and what we like to see done, and sorting out the chaos, and really just some almost, I want to call them deliverables, for lack of anything, a better term. I don't think that's the right term, but that's what comes to mind now. And maybe in our next week, we have a work session as we can kind of hash out some things with you one-on-one, but we come together and we kind of agree on some things as to what we like to see going. That's what I like to see. I think having the additional time gives us a longer runway to be able to plan and do a good search, but I do think we should put some guardrails up to make sure that we don't end up with where I want to come out of this vortex. I want to get off the crazy bus.
And as I kind of, been thinking too, and again, kind of thinking for when we do get to the point that you map out what is that brochure, what does that look like, I think we kind of do an extra step that a lot of people don't do, which might be to say, be the face and involved in community activities, continue data dialogues, continue CEO briefings, so that someone reading that would say, wow, what are those things that's continuing? You're not having to start up, so to try and also position us as best as we can, for those kind of things too.
Mr. Vu?
Yeah, just echoing a lot of what Member Certain said, what Dr. Patton said. We were looking at this timeline of like finishing this by the end of June. That was really tight. Even extending it to the next year, it's still tight given all the priorities that Member Certain mentioned. So I would like us to, just as a board, to come together in this workshop and we need to start mapping out what everything looks like for this coming year, because these are really big priorities. Doing a search, making sure we have a real strategic plan, making sure we get our budget in line, and understanding like what do we need to keep, what do we not need to keep, making sure we have real reading programs that are ensuring that our kids can read leaving elementary school, because really to me that's everything. And these are all big lifts, and just for what you said, what Dr. Patton said as well, we owe it to our community to do that as well. And that to me, I feel like should be the thing we take to heart the most, is doing right by them.
Dr. McNeely, did you have anything to add?
I can, Madam Chair, I can always add. One of the things I want you all, as my colleagues, to remember, no matter what guardrails we set up and what our plans are, and even if Dr. Patton continues to stay for an extension of time and work with the incoming person, transitioning them, please know that whoever comes in as the superintendent, they will have their own values, their own priorities. So don't fool the public that what we establish at this particular time or during the time that Dr. Patton will be transitioning with the permanent person, the person coming in who's watching everything that we do as a board, as staff, the academic portion of our district, they too will not come in and say, okay, that's already established, let's move. You would hope that, but I know from many other superintendents that is not the case. So please be prepared, even though we are going to workshop and have community and community engagement, which we need. There is going to always be an established period of things that the incoming leader will want to do. Don't forget that.
Ms. Certain.
I hear you, Dr. McNeely, and what you're saying, but I think maybe my question is maybe a question to you and to Dr. Patton. So the superintendent comes, and the superintendent does the will of the board, whoever that board is. The superintendent, now we may say we have our vision of our community. That's part of vision, mission, and values. That's part of our community input and us getting that, right? But the tenor of the board and what the board would like to see done is operationalized by the superintendent. The superintendent is an employee of the board. And whatever leeways that the superintendent takes and goes off is when the board allows them to. But a superintendent cannot just go and be a rebel and do what if we say we're wanting to focus and make sure every 95% of our students coming out of elementary school are on grade level. But if that is a goal of ours, the superintendent can't go and say, oh, I want to expand CTE and this is where I'm going to direct the resources. They may decide they think they want to do that, but the board doesn't approve that. That's my understanding, but maybe I'm misunderstanding what your statement was.
No, you heard exactly what I said, Mrs. Surton, and I hold to what I said. I also know the operations of the superintendent and this board, but times changes take place all the time. So if you're saying the will of the board, that individual coming in will follow and go because we lead that individual, please know, look at your history. That's all I'm going to say. Look at your history.
Well, I think we have to kind of have the mindset of elected officials and being part of the governance team. I do look at the history, right? But everything in our history hasn't been done properly and correctly. And so you don't want to keep doing things because we've historically done them a certain way. We have to adapt, and we have to kind of move forward into a vein of that will position us. That's how I'm coming at it. And sometimes things that have been done by leaders, Dr. McNeely, just because it's been done that way. I hear what you're saying, and I've seen it, but that isn't always the right way. That's from my understanding. That's what I'm saying. So
and I'm not going to debate with you. I applaud your service, your knowledge, and everything that you want to see happen for this district. We are all in agreement for that. We want what's best. I'm just saying that sometimes the will of the board can change based on staff, based on other things, people who are leading the schools where we are not. Just be cautious. That's all I'm saying. And whatever we should decide, whatever we will make the final decision, just know, be it he or she, whoever is sitting to my right, will be the leader. And we must be cautious about what we say to the general public, because they will hold us to that. Yes, I know the mandates. I know the will of the board. But all I'm saying is be careful. I don't care how many workshops we sit through, how many hours we plan. If there are some possibilities of differences and movement elsewhere, we as a collected body, we will make those decisions at that time. Times will change between now and 2026 and moving forward from that. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to talk anymore because we will have an orientation coming up, and I'm sure many of these things will be discussed. But I wanted to say one final thing, Mrs. Surton.
Okay, I want to move past this discussion because this is a discussion about, this is outside the scope of the superintendent search, I think. I think we're getting into board priorities and other things. I do think one piece of this that is relevant that I heard come up is that as board members, we kind of walk a line between, and I was feeling this before this discussion began, we're walking a line of kind of competing responsibilities. We have a responsibility to the public and a responsibility to the district. And we often make promises to the public. And then we may find out that fulfilling those promises aren't actually in the best interest of our district. And that often, I think that might be where you were going a little bit, but with things changing, Dr. McNeely?
I'm not going to say any more.
Okay, but I do know that for me, I did want to say that one of the promises that I've made to this community repeatedly is that we would have a superintendent search rather than appointing someone for a long-term contract. And, you know, I do see where to some community members it may feel like we're walking into a gray area there if we do a contract extension. And I want to assure the community that from my perspective, in order for us to do an intentional, comprehensive search with the kind of community input that I've been promising our community, we really do need to extend that timeline. And when Dr. Patton says that she is not going to put her name into the search, I believe her. And when she says that she is not willing to stay more than that extra year, I also believe her, because she has family down in South Florida and a home down there that she has graciously left behind to come help
Not meant
us.
that I wouldn't like to do that, just that ready to go on to that next chapter again. So by me saying that doesn't mean that it's not a good thing for somebody to do. It's great, and I'm going to do everything I can to shake the bushes. I've already started in my head knowing who I'm going to start talking to, like the head of the National Soup Association. Hey, we need a great person here, so already thinking of my networking group to say, I wouldn't be saying, hey, come do it, if that's not what I'm telling you. It's the right thing to do. So I, too, will lend my shoulder to making sure that we have a great person to carry that torch through.
Yeah.
And they, too, not to carry that conversation on, but they will bring things like I'm bringing data dialogues. You had all the priorities, but they'll still bring things, too. You know, so CEO briefings, data dialogue. So it won't be just what we line up for them. It'll be the and. What else are they going to do for us, which is great.
Yes, and I certainly didn't want to imply that you don't want to stay with us, but you graciously stepped out of retirement, leaving behind your home, friends, and family for us, and we really appreciate it. But
Y'all can visit anytime. So.
But I did want to just say that to the community, that this is about doing things correctly rather than hastily. To me, that is where I am coming from with this. Did anyone else have any comments? Do we have any calls or community input? If there's anyone in the audience, even if you didn't fill out a form, please step to the microphone and state your name, and you will have 3 minutes with the board.
So am I talking about the superintendent? Or
Yes, this is community input on the superintendent search. We will have you can just stay up there for a moment, because I don't think did anyone have input about the superintendent search? Did anyone have any final thoughts? So it sounds like our next step will be to determine.
Yeah, so I'll work with, like we did before, work with Mr. Delaney, your superintendent, and bring you back an addendum. So again, it's not a new contract, it's an extra page that will then outline June of 2026.
And then perhaps we can set up a timeline so that we have a set meeting when we know we're going to bring back, whether we're going with an RFP, an RFI, or
Perfect.
a set firm. Does that sound amenable? Yes. Okay, then moving on to general community input.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was just for the superintendent. So my name is Minister Crawford, and I have a program called, on the mic?
There you go.
Yes.
The red light is on, you just have to have it close to you.
There you
How
go.
was that?
Good.
My name is Minister Crawford, and I have a nonprofit organization, Ivory's Place. It's been in operation since 2012. I developed an operational manual for it. I've worked at the Department of Corrections for 13 years. I worked at HRS for 3 years. I retired from Lowell. I worked at Columbia Correctional, Gainesville Work Camp, Gainesville Main Unit. And when I retired, I began to do an operational manual for a variety of programs. So I'm here to talk about my Alachua County Outreach Program. That's one of the programs that's under the umbrella of Ivory's Place. What I do is I pick up 5 to 10 pallets a week from the 2 super Walmarts here in Gainesville. And I do giveaways throughout the community. And the last year, I've been partnered with with the school, with a couple of schools, Eastside School, making provision for the families, and just having giveaways in the community, inviting them to come out and be able to get some items. So at this current time, been in partnership with Aquin Jones, probably for about 6 months, having giveaways in the community, inviting the families to come and shop. I get anything, microwaves, clothes, anything you see in Walmart, I'm subject to pick up every week. So I don't do it for the money because I don't get paid. So it's something that's in my heart, and it's something that the Lord gave me to do. So I've been doing it. I've had Bed Bath & Beyond in Jacksonville. I had them for a few years. I did Farm Share. I did the food bank. I did Cato's. And now I've been doing the Walmart for the last three to 4 years here in Gainesville. I do the store on Archer Road, and I just gained this store on Waldo Road. So every week I'm renting U-Hauls and storages to stack it up, and when it gets so full, I have to have giveaways. Everything is out of pocket for me, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. So the program I want to talk about is a basic wraparound program for the students and the parents. It's the Project Me program. I did it 2 years at the jail with the females, but I created the program. It's a transformation program for individuals of all ages, celebrating the uniqueness of each individual journey. I created a self-work help book. It's sold on Amazon currently, and that will help the parents get involved in more of the situations that they have. So right now, my program is operating at Aquin Jones. I've been there 5 months. The family liaison tries to get the parents to participate. They have flyers there. They have the welcome letters there that I provided for them to be able to try to get the parents to participate in the parent empowerment program, along with the Project Me Youth Mentorship Program. It cannot be achieved unless the parent participate. So it's all laid out, and I have a regiment, and everything is detailed. But the thing is, you go into the school, and Aquin Jones, and it's a lot of activity that goes on. And my goal is to prevent gangs, killing, robbery, and all of these things in the community. And Aquin Jones is a very challenging school, but myself working in the prison, it's not challenging for me. But the problem that I'm having is getting the parents to participate. And I have mentors, which we have already applied through the school. They have like 5 that's been approved. And we're just pending and trying to figure out how to get parents to participate with their child in the program.
Thank you so much, Ms. Crawford, for presenting about your program. Since you didn't fill out a form, can you get with Ms. Johnson over in this corner and make sure she has your information so staff can follow up with you about that parent involvement piece?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Mr. DeBracke, so good to see you.
Greetings, Dr. Rockwell, and welcome, Dr. Patton. I think the last time I spoke with the board was probably in the spring, and it was during when you were renewing the discipline policy for the next year, and I think it was at the first reading, and I made some comments then. It was probably too late to do anything, but I'd just like to repeat them here. And it's basically on a cell phone policy. I basically said back then that what was written on about 2 or 3 pages in that 40-page document was pretty confusing, and really it just should start with cell phones are not allowed to be used by students except with the following exceptions. And then also, if you violate these policies, then your phone is subject to confiscation and then some way of getting it returned. So that's basically the thing on the discipline. On the superintendent search, I have 2 thoughts of that. One is hearing all this discussion about board priorities and stuff like that. It seems like the board definitely has a problem sometimes coming up with a consensus on anything. I mean, even on the redistricting, some people wanted to keep community schools open, other people wanted to make all the schools homogeneous, which is completely conflicting with each other. And you all, the people who were on the board back then did not come to a consensus to direct the administration to do it one way or the other. But on the superintendent search, I mean, you knew back in November that you were going to be doing this, okay? I mean, you could have started hiring the School Board Association or somebody else to start developing what has to be done for the search. Well, that hasn't happened. You wasted 2 months. And thanks for Dr. Patton offering to stay. My other thought on the superintendent search is it doesn't have to be July 1st as starting date. Why not have a compromise and make it January 1st? Then you will be the only ones looking for a superintendent in the fall, and you might get the cream of the crop then. So there might be some other compromise of what this timing will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dobracki. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? All right, hearing none. If all hearts and minds are clear, no?
No, I have the board and superintendent requests are announcements. And I actually just wanted to make one on the last thing there, so.
Yes, sorry. My pages got mixed up. I apologize, Ms. Surden.
Easy
Okay.
to do, yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to say to our staff, and as if you would make the announcement, Dr. Rockwell, next Thursday with her Teacher of the Year, I will miss because it's the FSBIT fall meeting, and I really have to go because of the hurricane. The meeting was shifted, and there's some important decisions that have to be made. So I'll miss Teacher of the Year. It'll be the first time since I've been on the board, but I give my best to everyone, but I will be away then, okay?
I will express your regrets about missing and the importance of that FSBIT meeting so that the Teachers of the Year know.
I need to say the same thing.
Okay. Dr. McNeely, yes.
Madam Chair, I thank Mrs. Surton for saying that. I will come to the Teacher of the Year, but I have an extreme important meeting program that I'm co-chairing that night. So I will be leaving probably right around 7, but I will come, but I can't stay until the end.
Thank you for letting us know. I think you'll be there to be recognized, but if you're not, I will express
Okay, thank
your
you.
regrets as well. Is there anything else? All right, then this meeting is adjourned at 7:20 p.m.
This new computer, so. Like, you see how they